Hello, I'm Askar Sherliyev. You're watching news from Kazakhstan, and these are the headlines. Former head of Valyut Transit Bank and convict Andrei Belyaev died in Karaganda. Preliminary reason of the death is a heart attack. Chief editor of молодежный newspaper Berik Zhagiparov was arrested and put in jail for 7 days in Zhezkazgan. He was found guilty of organizing an unsanctioned Saturday protest action in front of Kazakhmys. Kazakh scientists developed a breed of wonder potatoes. The veg supposedly rejuvenates. Former board chair of Valyut Transit Bank Aitbaky Bilalov, better known as Andrei Belyaev, died in Karaganda on Sunday night. Now his relatives will have to pay off his debts. They were already given claims amounting to over $13 million. According to unofficial information, the daughter and the wife of the banker are currently abroad and found out about his death from the media. The former head of the Exchange Transit Bank, Andrei Belyaev, passed away in the regional medical center on the night of February 10th. According to doctors, when brought to the intensive care, the ex-banker didn't have any visible injuries, was quite upbeat and even shared his plans for the future. The primary causes of death is said to be a heart attack. In 2008, Andrei Belyaev, the former head of Exchange Transit Bank, was sentenced to 3.5 years in prison for financial crimes. His sentence expired in 2010, but in 2011, the ex-banker was sentenced again, this time to 10 years in maximum security prison, where he worked as a librarian and a brick manufacturer with an official salary of $130. On February 8, Belyaev applied to our medical unit complaining on chest pain. He underwent ECG and was prescribed treatment but refused to be hospitalized once he got better. In the late afternoon on February 9, Belyaev was taken to the medical unit due to unfeeling well. When the ambulance arrived, he again refused to be taken to the local hospital. Member of Russian State Duma Oleg Mikheyev, accused of fraud in Russia and Kazakhstan, was stripped of his parliamentary mandate. However, the plenary committee decided that on February 15, it will discuss the issue of depriving him of his immunity and allow the instigation of a criminal case against him. In December 2012, Russian General Prosecutor's Office publicized the facts charging the member of State Duma with non-payment of loans for a total amount of over $66 million. In order to proceed with the investigation, the Prosecutor's Office appealed to the State Duma, requesting to strip Mikheyev of his immunity. The letter from Kazkommertsbank accusing the member of Duma as the guarantor for the borrowers in the unpaid loan of more than $33 million was also attached to the case, while Mikheyev himself denies all charges. According to him, once being a shareholder of one of the banks, he received the loans by selling his shares to another financial institution. These are the loans that appear in this case. The member of Duma has already argued his case in the court and is ready to provide the documents. In fact, Oleg Mikheyev also gives out the names of those who benefit off of this scandal. He accuses the Senator Ananyev, who allegedly acquired his shares, while Kazakhstan's loan is a different story. As for Kazkommertsbank and Moskommertsbank, unfortunately, the first one has only met the financial obligations by 30% by paying off contractual obligations accordingly. This is a simple rating scheme when one entity that didn't fulfill its financial obligations creates problems for another enterprise, which still managed to locate the funds to complete the construction project. I don't worry much about my immunity. There is a field of civil and legal relations, which would allow me to establish my case, because hundreds of courts' decisions were already made in our favor. The head of the Social Protection Ministry, Serik Abdenov, admits that foreign workers are paid higher wages as opposed to local ones. Thus, the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection will investigate more than 2,000 enterprises for discrepancies in wages. The minister says that sometimes foreigners are paid more than Kazakhstan citizens on the local market. According to Abdenov's information, 2,000 companies employ specialists from foreign countries. Last year, around 22,000 foreign workers from over 100 countries were working in Kazakhstan. Based on inspection results, the ministry is planning to make changes in labor legislation if needed and put the appropriate proposal on the agenda at the Foreign Investors Council. Unfortunately, we have cases when foreigners are paid more than local employees with the same workload and equal qualification level. We're looking into this issue and will have the results by the end of this year. Mayor of Zhezkazgan failed to keep his word as the initiator of a protest action was arrested. 24 of Zhezkazgan residents organized a protest action in front of the Kazakhmys Corporation last Saturday. As a result, Berik Zhagiparov was arrested to 7 days for organizing an unsanctioned protest. Meanwhile, prior to the protest, authorities promised to resolve the problems which were to be voiced by the citizens.
This is an unauthorized rally, as you didn't get a permission from the local administration. Stay where you are, your meeting is not legal. I request that you don't violate public order and leave now. The court sentenced Berik Zhagiparov to 7 days of arrest for organizing an unauthorized rally near the office of Kazakhstan Corporation. According to the court, the journalist was aware of his actions being illegal. You were handed a warning on January 28th, and if you accepted it, then why didn't you listen to the public supervision representative who admonished you against violating the law? Out of 20 people who joined the Saturday rally, only Zhagiparov eventually ended up behind bars. The protesters demanded to reinstate Saule Seydakhmetova, trade union member, in her position, stop pressuring workers and refrain from layoffs in the company. After his arrest, Zhagiparov maintained he is not guilty and was only trying to bring the social tension in Zhezkazgan to authorities' attention. Last year, on April 27th, I spoke at a press conference about a strike and riots in the city, asking for the authorities to step in and resolve the problem, as otherwise Zhanauzian events would repeat in our city. The rally was also of interest to public activist Yermek Narambayev, who specifically came to the city and met with the mayor discussing the matter. The local administration had said the problems voiced at the rally will be resolved, but after Zhagiparov's arrest, Narambayev believes the promise of no repressions was broken. I had a straightforward conversation with Zhezkazgan head of administration. I can't say whether they were lying or not, and it no longer matters now. The point is, they told me all they could and answered all of our questions. According to the court ruling, Zhagiparov will be released on February 17th. Until then, his supporters are planning to demand to reconsider the verdict.
The election of the new chairman of Ruhaniat political party is one of the strangest happenings in terms of logic in internal political life of Kazakhstan. The party will now be led by golf enthusiast and the general director of Kaztransgaz, Serik Sultangaliyev. More details in the next report.
Ruhaniat, one of Kazakhstan's smaller parties, has a new leadership after Serik Sultangaliyev was unanimously voted as the new chair after last weekend's unscheduled meeting. I don't want to comment on the matter, except that it's obvious that the party leadership is in right hands now. The younger generation must carry on, and that was my only goal. I wish long life to the party. The right hands belong to a little-known Serik Sultangaliyev. He's a non-public persona serving as the director of Kaztransgaz. In recent years, he gave only a few interviews regarding the company's achievements. But the fact that he likes to play golf already became a subject of jokes. After all, it is true that Kazakhstan now has a party of golf enthusiasts. It is clear that Serik Sultangaliyev, who became the new chair of the party, is just a sponsor. They sold the brand to the people who are very close with the leaders of the fuel and energy sector. Ruhaniat has tried on very different formats throughout the years after its establishment. Initially led by Altynshah Zhaganova, it protected the interests of librarians and later repatriates. Under the new management of Serikjan Mambetalin, it became more environment conscious. Closer to the parliamentary elections in 2012, the platform was moving forward seemingly with national patriotic motives. Eventually, the violation of convention rules led to the removal of Ruhaniat from the ballot. After a brief hunger strike at the Astana Mosque, Serikjan Mambetalin, the former leader of Ruhaniat, left the country. On Monday, he posted a comment on Facebook, although it's hard to say whether it takes a jab at the new appointment or general election process. I don't think that Sultangaliyev will like doing politics by leading a political party with a scandalous reputation. He's not a poor man and he could easily buy a seat in the parliament. I'm not surprised that it is happening right now because in the nearest future, maybe within a few months, the president will be gone. And to make the process of power transition as controlled as possible, all feasible threats will be neutralized. Nevertheless, it is unlikely that anyone ever regarded Ruhaniat as a real political force. Experts also do not expect any radical changes in the internal politics of the party. It's really fitting that many treat the organization as an escape route during elections and vote for it only because ballots do not have the option of against all.
February 11 is a tragic date in the modern political history of Kazakhstan. 7 years ago, on this day, prominent politician Altunbek Sarsimbayev, his driver Vasily Zhuravlev, and bodyguard Baurjan Babasynov were killed. Every year, relatives, friends and colleagues of those killed pay tribute by laying flowers and organizing a commemorative meal. However, do ordinary Kazakhstanis remember the opposition activists and his contributions to the country? Find out from the next report.
Family, friends and colleagues of the politician and public figure Altunbek Sarsimbayev gathered on Monday to pay him a tribute on Kensay Cemetery in Almaty. For many of them, he still remains part of their lives even after death. There are at least 2 significant dates per year when we gather to commemorate Sarsimbayev, which are his birthday September 12th and the death day February 11th. We honor these dates, which are imprinted in our lives. Altunbek Sarsimbayev, his driver Vasily Zhuravlev and bodyguard Baurjan Baybasynov were killed on February 11, 2006. Their bodies with gunshot wounds were found only 2 days later. Ex-head of the administration of Kazakhstan's Senate Yerzhan Utimbayev confessed that he was offended by the interview of the politician and therefore took out a bank loan to hire an assassin. Utimbayev was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Up to date, many people in Kazakhstan refuse to believe the official version of the murder caused by resentment. On Monday, during a memorial in one of the restaurants in Almaty, friends and family talked about the events which took place 7 years ago and the role of the politician Altunbek Sarsimbayev in politics and lives of people of Kazakhstan. I refuse to part with him. I'll always miss him. Altunbek will always stay alive in our minds. The news of the murder of opposition leader and the controversial trial of its paymasters and perpetrators stayed quite a public reaction back then. However, the survey on the streets of Astana revealed that 7 years later, one's prominent figure is almost forgotten. Have you heard of Altunbek Sarsimbayev? Sarsimbayev? No, I don't think so. Haven't you heard of him? I did, but I can't remember. I don't know who Altunbek Sarsimbayev is. Unfortunately not. Isn't he a producer of Mozart? I think he organizes the concerts. There is a reason behind such elusive memory of the nation, says a close associate of Sarsimbayev politician Emirjan Kasanov. People of Kazakhstan are so used to the fact that after a burst of activity follows the repression. These events and the murders have scared majority of population away from active political support. They realize that people are easily killed and none is held responsible. Therefore, it bears a negative impact on the overall political activity of citizens. Every year, the closest people visit the place where the bodies of Sarsimbayev, his driver and assistant were found in order to experience what have bound them on February 11, 2006 once again.
Times change, traditions remain. Kazakh MPs proposed to revive the Institute of Bards, which existed during the rule of Kazakh Khans. The corresponding appeal was signed by 18 MPs. Members of the initiative group are confident that the revival of the old tradition will boost political participation.
Parliament member Bakhutbek Smagul says the country needs traditional Kazakh bards, historically considered advisors to Khans and the ruling elite, reflecting on the issues of common people through their songs and poems. The related request to Prime Minister Sirik Akhmetov was immediately supported by 18 MPs. The revival of bards will supposedly retain heritage and help in decision-making process. In the past, the Kazulorda region had a university department specifically training bards. However, later it was closed due to the lack of funding. Back then, ordinary people could study this art, but few had money for the tuition. At the same time, the necessity of bards' involvement in our lives is now critical. We should restore bards training in Kazakhstan. Poet Ularbek Baytalak supports the initiative but doesn't believe that modern bards will be allowed to take part in the important decision-making process, especially since there are no strong artists of the genre in the country at present. Nowadays, almost everyone looks up to one person only, and the authorities are not likely to allow the necessary freedom of expression. There are absolutely no people who could come up to the ruler and tell him everything straight to his face. Many know that in our system everyone tries to adjust to one single person's will. The most famous advisor in Kazakhstan is Yermuhamed Yertazbayev, the president's personal advisor on political issues. He refrained from commenting on the idea of reviving the Institute of Bards. As often happens, Yertazbayev simply had no time. I don't have time for this. Only time will tell whether the art of bards will be revived in Kazakhstan at all. Still, members of the parliament believe that the time is running out and the initiative should be implemented as soon as possible.
The supporters of the border guard convicted for life, Vladislav Chelach, organized showcase actions by choosing a tree in his support. It has a nameplate and white ribbons as a sign of solidarity. The same actions were held in Pavlodar and Karaganda. What do organizers say? Find out from the next report.
This past weekend, a group of Almaty citizens objecting the court sentence for Vladislav Chelach, charged with the murder of 15 people, held a protest action near the military equipment samples in the family recreation park. They welcomed those supporting the accused soldier to tie white ribbons over the tree. However, the protest was soon scattered by the chief park security guard.
Партия является акционерным частным. Это первое. Второе, нужно разрешение согласования, любое видеозапись с акиматом.
This park is a private property, which means you have to obtain a legal permit for video recording and holding all kinds of actions or protests on this territory. I wouldn't mind your presence if this was a public area. After being expelled from the park territory, the Tree of Hope Action participants planted the protest banner on the Abai Avenue, thus expressing hope for justice in the Arkan Kirgen massacre case.
Мы не согласны с несправедливостью, которая творится. Таким образом, хотим поддержать, и все, кто на стороне влады, могут сюда прийти.
We deeply resent the injustice in court. This protest action is aimed at supporting the accused soldier by tying a ribbon as a symbol of unity and determination to seek impartial investigation and discharge of Vladislav Chelach.
Парня отпустили, он и так уже настрадался.
This is not the first Tree of Hope for Vladislav Chelach. Last week, the white ribbons were tied over trees at the military court buildings when the Board of Appeals ruled to uphold the life sentence. The white ribbon protests were also held in Karaganda and Pavlodar. Meanwhile, the movement activists promised to install the memorial nameplates in every district of all major Kazakhstan cities. They say that the questionable outcome of the trial over the frontier massacre survivor has already aroused concern in Russia, Israel and Germany.
Austria categorically refutes the statements on the fact that Kazakhstan received deadly animals. Foreigners claimed that elite cattle were absolutely healthy upon arrival to Kazakhstan. As a proof, they sent the results of examinations. The Austrian embassy's press service also distributed its press release, and that's what it says.
Austria pays a great deal of attention to the security of its consumers and health of its animals, and is very proud by the stable and developed agricultural sector which exports its cattle worldwide. Based on the scientific facts, Austria firmly denies the statements that the agricultural security of Kazakhstan was damaged as a result of imported Austrian cattle to the livestock farms Poltavskaya and Leonov. The press release also mentions that the Austrian side conducted 2 independent testings, which proves that no viral diarrhea virus-infected animals was imported from Austria to Kazakhstan. In fact, the experts say there were no cases of reported Schmallenberg virus-infected cattle in Austria during the export of livestock to Kazakhstan, while the official veterinary certificate provides no guarantees against the Schmallenberg virus. Moreover, official Austria refutes that their authorities had allegedly apologized for the import of infected animals. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Agriculture of Kazakhstan assures that Austrians were well aware of the deadly virus. 722 head of cattle that have been imported to Kazakhstan were collected from 424 farms, which means that cattle was collected from very small farms. The most interesting is the fact that 19 out of 424 farms had issues with viral diarrhea. As for Schmallenberg, the cattle was imported in September, whereas the requested report, which we received from Austrian side in February 2012, revealed that 90% of the livestock of Austria was already infected by Schmallenberg in July and August. To recap, more than 700 elite breeds of cows were purchased 6 months ago. Kazakhstan paid 3,200 euros per cow. However, due to a killer virus, the Ministry of Agriculture finally decided to destroy the entire flock. In fact, 200 one-month-old calves already born in Kazakhstan will be terminated as well. The authorities demand the Austrian side to compensate the damage.
The Wonder potatoes were developed by Kazakh scientists, and now it is portrayed as a national brand. Supposedly, the new type of potato prolongs life. However, the rumor was immediately debunked by scientists themselves.
Please note the potato's tuberous color on the inside. The darkest side signifies higher content of vitamins and antioxidants. The new brand of the potatoes bred by Kazakhstan scientists features a light violet fresh. According to the agrobiologist Vladimir Shvichenko, this potato variety was originally introduced in South America and has now been modified by the Kazakh agrarian scientists into a dietary officinal product with anti-aging properties. Currently, only 2 of the Akmola regional agricultural enterprises are engaged in growing the miraculous vegetable, which is expected to go into mass distribution in around 2 years. Meanwhile, the new breed creators need at least $65,000 of investments to continue research. We can't really state this particular kind of potatoes promotes life extension. It should rather be perceived as a wholesome product rich with vitamins and antioxidants, which in combination with proper diet and other factors is likely to help people live longer, healthier lives. In other words, the new potato brand seems to have fallen prey to a misleading PR campaign. The experts from the National Health Nutrition Center emphasize that despite being considerably high in vitamins, the new type of potato is not a cure-all solution. According to Aygul Kazahmetova, the grocery markets today abound with GMO products. Of course, the potato-based diet is unlikely to promote rejuvenation. However, potatoes do boast quite a few useful properties, improving cardiovascular system and blood circulation. But that also depends on a number of factors such as the tuberous variety, freshness and cooking method. The sushi chef Din Muhammad Kazabekov appeared rather skeptical about the new product. He believes that potato is no longer a universal meal favorite. The urbanized generation of Kazakhstan citizens seems to prefer unhealthy French fries and other varieties of potato dishes. Potato is a rather cheap product that is not very popular in Asia and is used mostly in European cuisine. While the new miraculous potato variety is yet to gain popularity, the Astana scientists have come up with another selective breakthrough. The barley grain that's not only rich in vitamins and essential protein, but also is naturally hulless.
This is all we have time for now. Thank you for watching and have a good day.